Hey guys, Johnny here. Welcome back to another video. And in this video, what I want to talk about is the truck driver that was sentenced to 110 years in prison in the state of Colorado by a jury. Technically, a jury convicted him of doing wrong, and then the judge placed a sentence on him according to the law. Now, the judge can be lenient with the guy if he wants to, but the judge went. I guess he felt that the truck driver was at fault, just like the jury did, and the prosecutor and the police. So basically, what happened is that this truck driver drove this truck that had faulty brakes. Now, we don't know if the air brake tank was no good, if he actually had no brakes, if his plug was no good. Like maybe the truck driver didn't do a proper walk around, a proper inspection of the truck, test the brakes. So they're saying that he knew the brakes were no good, and he should have never been driving the truck, in the first place, and those people would have never died. So basically, it's a truck driver's responsibility. When you go get your CDL, if this guy even had a CDL, I really don't know too much about him. If he had a CDL, if it was illegal, we don't know if he was moonlighting, whatever, but all we know is that he took that truck. He lost his brakes going downhill. He didn't even have the sense enough to go into the runaway lane that's designed specifically for trucks that have problems. They can go in the runaway lane and they'll crash into something, or it'll make them stop so it won't hurt anybody. But the guy didn't even do that because maybe he didn't even know about it, because he might have not had a CDL, or a number of things why he didn't do that, or he was in the wrong lane that he's not supposed. He was in a lane that he wasn't supposed to be in. So technically, the court probably saw that it was 80% his fault, being he's a human being. The truck is a machine, and it's up to people to maintain them and make sure that they are running properly, just like your car. You shouldn't drive around with no brakes, because you're going to crash. You're not going to be able to stop. And we all know that, you know what I mean? So people do drive around with no brakes, and they have accidents. And a lot of times when people do that and they hurt someone, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, because they knew that car that they were driving had no brakes. Now, truck drivers are professional drivers. They go to school. They go to school and they learn how to drive a truck. They take a driving test. They take an examination. They got to get medical exams. So it's no joke. It's not like you could just get in one of these trucks, these semi trucks with a fifth wheel, and just drive it. You got to be licensed to drive it. And that's why these truck drivers make good money, because it's a tough job and there's a lot of responsibility in it. And this guy, he might have avoided his responsibility doing the walk around that every truck driver is required to do before they get in their truck and drive away. Just like a pilot, before he flies that plane, he's going to do he's going to do an inspection of the plane and make sure that the plane is airworthy, and he's not going to crash. So I think what happened was the jury was convinced that it wasn't an act. The jury was convinced that he was at fault. You know what I mean? It wasn't a freak accident where the truck just failed, and it was like a brand new truck and the thing just failed, and he didn't know. But he also got sentenced because he didn't go in the runaway lane. So basically, he killed 4 people, and everybody's up in arms. Like, let's call it vehicular homicide. It's not murder. But technically, it is sort of his problem, because he didn't do a proper inspection of the truck, and they say he knew the truck was not in good condition because he testified to that. You know what I mean? So he killed 4 people. So now he testified that he knew the truck wasn't running good. He didn't have the sense enough to go in the runaway lane. He drove the truck knowing, and then he winds up crushing these people, crushing them to death. Right? 4 people. So if you commit vehicular homicide and it's like 80% your fault, what are you going to get sentenced? Let's say he got 10 years per person. That's 40 years right there. Let's say he's 38. When he gets out of jail, he's going to be 80. You know what I mean? It's not like the guy's 18, 21 years old. Or maybe, I really don't know how old he is. But if you're adding 40 years, the minimum they can give him is 40 years. That's 40 years of your life. You're going to jail regardless. Then he had all the other people that he injured. So how much is that time worth for those people? 5 years, 3 years. Let's say I forgot how many he hurt, but add that up. Let's say you give each person that he injured, maimed, maybe like they're permanently scarred for life. They can't walk. Who knows, right? Let's give them 2.5 years, and I think it was over 10 people that he hurt. So that's 22.5 years right there. So if you give him 10 years per person that he killed and 2.5 years per person that that's 66.5 years right there. You know what I mean? So for the judge to give him 110 years, there's nothing he can do. He didn't kill one person. He couldn't have gave him, like 15 years for the one guy. They probably were lenient on the guy. The judge probably gave him the minimum sentences that he could have got for each conviction that he was convicted for. Naturally, the guy's shocked because he doesn't realize, and a lot of people don't realize, that he killed 4 people. 4 people go to jail for vehicular homicide. Like if you're drunk driving and you kill somebody, you're getting 25 years in jail for one person. If you're lucky, you'll get out in 15. If you get a DUI, the second one, you do 3 months minimum jail time. The third one in New Jersey, you got to do 6 months minimum jail time. If you got a really good lawyer and you can put up a good case, you might get a bracelet and they'll send you home. So this is why I think justice was served on the truck driver. You know what I mean? Because truck drivers, I'm sure we've all had little spats with them. They block cars from traveling at proper speeds. They cut people off. They just, some of them are real assholes. I mean, let's just say it like that. And they're professional drivers. And a lot of them don't realize that they're hauling 80,000 pounds. Like this guy who killed those 4 people was hauling 80,000 pounds. Now you take 80,000 pounds and you go downhill without brakes. I could just imagine what these cops saw, what this guy did. And he lived in his truck. You know what I mean? I could just imagine how he mangled these cars. You could probably search YouTube videos and see trucks, how they just crush cars. Just crush them. Because you're talking 80,000 pounds hitting a tin can. You know what I mean? It's like a big, it's nuts. It's huge. 80,000 pounds is a lot of weight. So that's why I believe justice was served. And now all these truck drivers all up in arms because they're not even thinking. He killed 4 people. So if you give them each 10 years, that's 40 years. For everybody he hurt, if you give them 2.5 years, 2 years, that's 20 years right there. That's 60 years. If the guy's 38 years old, he's never getting out of jail. They're not going to let this guy out of jail for what he did. He's going to serve a minimum of 45 years. Unless like these truck drivers, the guy goes to the appellate court, they appeal it, and then the upper judge can like reduce the sentence. But what's he going to reduce it to? 60 years? He's not going to give him 10 years for killing 4 people. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. It wasn't it's a vehicular homicide. You murdered, you killed 4 people. And I'm sorry they all died, and I'm really sorry for the truck driver too. But he should have been smart enough as a professional driver to make sure that his rig that can kill people if in case of an accident, like especially motorcycle drivers, people never like merge from motorcycle drivers. Get the hell out of their way. Let them do what they want. You can kill them, because they're on a bike. You're in a cage. So basically it comes down to like a guy on a motorcycle is on a bike and he gets into an accident with a car. That's a cage, right? So the car is 4,000 pounds. Now you got a truck that has 80,000 pounds. Do the math. With a giant diesel engine. That is so much mass crashing into these people, and everything. Everybody should have courtesy for vehicles that are smaller than you, like motorcycles, bicycles, pedestrians. We all have to be careful. But this is John Avanti. I hope this video was helpful and makes you understand how this guy was sentenced, why he was sentenced to 110 years. They didn't just pull 110 years out of their asses, because they don't like the guy, because he killed 4 people. 4 people died. I'm sure if he killed 1 person, he probably would have got 20 years, So 20 years a person, that's 80 years. You know what I mean? So take care, peace out, God bless you, and be nice to someone, say good morning or something like that, and you'll feel better too. Take care.